Hello, my name is Robbie. On here, I'm Templar Knight. Every person who believes in God but does not go to church has a story why. But it's said that whenever two or more gather in God's name, that He is there. So this is church. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Tonight, I'm going to tell my story. How I got to where I am, how I became the man that I have become. And halfway through the story, I'm going to completely change topics. Everyone knows about similes and metaphors. It's my favorite way to preach. And this week, this entire series, I'm going to preach that way. For those who aren't used to me, I will make it abundantly clear when the topic changes. I will say the same phrase twice. Different words, but the same meaning. Hopefully you'll catch on. Fair enough? Alright, let's get into this. To begin, we're going to start at the very beginning, because it's a very good place to start. Sorry, I make that joke every time, but I love it. I grew up in the church, or at least as long as I can remember, I've been going to church. And I had a really good childhood. Parents were very loving, very caring, good people, still together. I had a great place to grow up. I had shouldn't be speaking past tense. I have a very loving sister who's amazing. She's truly awesome. She's beautiful, she's smart, she's fun. She made all the right decisions in life. She was a great role model. And I admire her. She also cast a very large shadow, which I struggled with. I wasn't smart. I wasn't good at much. Wasn't very good looking. Did not have a lot going for me. And I was very calm and just distant. I was not good at communicating. And it was a huge weakness of mine. I didn't know how to talk. I didn't know how to express myself. I had this thing whenever someone asked me how I was doing. I still have this thing. Whenever someone asks me how I'm doing, I'll say I'm good, whether I'm good or not. And I had someone point out to me that when they ask me how I'm doing and I say I'm good, they have to watch my face. Because if I smile and I say I'm good, they know I am. But if it's, hey Robbie, how you doing? I'm good. They learned, ask again, pry a little bit, 'cause something ain't good. But it took 38 years for someone to realize that. So whenever little boy Robbie, hey Robbie, how you doing? I'm good. Okay. I wasn't good, but I didn't know how to say I wasn't. I went to church and I learned all the songs, learned all the stories, did everything I was supposed to do at church. But I didn't know God. I was just there. I was going through the motions. I'm good. There was a hole inside that I could not figure out how to fill. Until one day, I found something that came close. Music was always a thing in our house. Lots of music. My mother would wake me up when I was a child singing. My sister is an avid singer. I would like to argue that singing was the one thing I could do better than her. And so when I learned to sing, I had my moment. I had my place where I could shine, where I was special, where I stood above the crowd. I joined all the choirs I could find my way into. I started performing at church, and it gave me a high that all eyes were on me. When we took the stage, I mattered. And it became the most important thing to me. I started writing my own music. Again, I always talk about how hip-hop was such a big thing for me when I was a kid. Hip-hop's easy to write, just poetry over drums. I was singing, and it came natural for me. I didn't even have to study the music. I could hear it and learn. That was my expression. And I started doing musicals where we would travel the state, travel the nation even, and sing about God's love to people and perform songs and dances and do these mission trips. And it was my time to shine. And boy, did I shine. But I learned that emotion is a lot like the ocean. It's got waves. And when you have really high highs, you have really low lows. And I didn't know that before because I didn't have emotion. I was somewhat crippled in that sense. Everything was very calm for me. And I had kid energy and teenage energy. But I never went through extremes of emotion. It was always, well, this is the way I'm supposed to act. Fake it until you make it. For some reason, that was my goal. And when the performances were over, I crashed. I would come down from that buzz. I was good. In middle school, my parents blessed our family with 2 more boys. I was 11 and 13 when they were born. And it was awesome to have them around. But they took up a lot of time. They took a lot of attention. Not that I was ever much to be focused on anyway. Because whenever I was asked how I was doing, I'm good. I remember sitting in the den outside of my sister's room. I'd come finish my workout and then I'd be watching TV and my mom would be in there talking for hours at a time. And when they were done talking, she'd come out and I'd be sitting there. Hey, Robbie, how you doing? I'm good. All right, well, don't stay up too late. Okay. And she'd go to bed, and I'd be so mad at myself because I couldn't figure out how to tell people that I wasn't good. It was my fault. I did not know how to communicate, and it held me back. In my early years of high school, I hit rock bottom. We had just gotten back from a big musical trip, and I was buzzing. And then I got home, and there was nothing. I was empty, I was alone, and I was done. I could not figure out how to fill the gap. I was confused because I go to church. I'm supposed to know these things. I'm not supposed to feel this way. And I knew the punishment for suicide. part of me thought it wouldn't be that bad. So that night, I gave up. And I decided to end it all. And I failed at that too. So I laid there on my bathroom floor, broken and empty. I couldn't even kill myself right. How am I supposed to do anything? I've got nothing left. Then my man Jesus shows up, walks into the room. Same thing he always tells me. What are you doing? And I got mad. I'm done with this. I don't want to play anymore. This sucks. You've just begun, man. You gotta get through this part. This is the hard part. But you have to push and get through. No! I don't want to. I give up. Jesus comes over, puts his hand on my shoulder and says, "You don't want your life anymore? Fine. But I do. You don't want it? You're willing to give it up? I'll take it. Live for me. Seek me. Give your life to me, and you will find a life worth living." How? How do I do it, God? You ask. Invite me into your heart, and I will show you the way. So I did. That night, I prayed for the first time. Not like the prayers in church where we all folded our hands and bowed our heads and I sat there quietly. I cried out to my Lord and I gave him everything. My pastor at the time, he had a way of ending church. They call it a benediction. And every week at the end of church, he would raise his hands and he would say, "May the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, be with you all." And all God's people said, Amen. That night, a peace that surpassed all understanding came to me, and I was calm. My heart was at rest. I could breathe. A huge weight had been lifted, and all the pain I'd been feeling was gone. That night, I found my faith. That night, I got my first car. So I woke up in the morning, and nothing hurt. Well, maybe my neck from sleeping on the bathroom floor, but inside, nothing hurt. And I went and I looked out the window, and there was that car sitting in my driveway. And I went outside and I checked it out, and made sure it was real, that this car was actually there. Now, the first thing I did, I wanted to know about this car. I wanted information. So I went to the glove box and I grabbed the book. First, I kind of flipped through, found a few good chapters to read, hit all the highlights. But I needed more information. So I flipped back to the front of the book and I read through, front to back, even the boring ones, because there's some boring parts in that book. But I read through it and I was so excited. I'd never had a car before. I pretended. I pretended all the time that I had a car. And I didn't. Now, once I learned about my car, I figured out how it worked, what I could do with it, where I could go. So the first thing I did, I took my car to church. And when I walked into the youth room, people noticed something was different. Like, Robbie, you good, man? Like, I'm good. I'm good. And I showed him my car. And it wasn't much at first, but I had one. And I went and talked to my pastor. And I showed him my car. I told him my story. And he was so proud. But I wasn't done there. Because this car was amazing. This car would take me where I needed to go. But for me, it wasn't just about my journey. I was so excited to have this car, I needed everyone to know. So the first thing I do, I go and put some huge speakers in this car because I want everyone to hear me coming. I want to turn heads. I want people to know. There he is. Look at him go. And then I needed the car to look better. So we painted it. We put stickers on it. I wanted people to see this thing and be like, all right, okay. I put new lights on it. Headlights. Boom. So I could see everything in front of me. Lights underneath it, lighting up the ground. This car was amazing, and it was taking me places. You know why it was taking me places? Because now that I had a car, I was looking for signs. Turn here. Go this speed. Turns out, Jesus had a lot of ways to talk to me once I finally started looking. Started an internship at my church. Ended up going out to church camp, teaching there. That's where I met my wife. I'd love to say she was drawn to me because I'm good looking. But in all reality, she just liked me for my ride. People saw me in this car, and it was like gravity. You were drawn to it. And people started coming around. Hey man, what you got there? It's like, dude, let me show you. And I always wanted to tell people about my car. And I was doing things with it. I remember the greatest moment when a guy walks up and says, hey man, that's a really cool car you got there. Where can I get one? I told him, I was like, look, I'm just in the market of customizing them. But my boy Jesus over here, he's running the car lot. Let's go talk to him. Let's get you a car. And so we grew. My inner circle became a car club. We started working on vehicles. we started installing stuff. We started doing lights and stereos and all sorts of crazy things. And people were drawn to what we were doing. And we go out cruising, just living our best lives. Man, we set up shop. Everywhere we went, we had the garage open. People were coming in. People with nice cars, people with trucks, mud runners, people who ain't got vehicles. They were coming to us. And we were hooking them up. A lot of people got really amazing cars. And we were, well, I thought we were unstoppable. Sometimes I push the limits because, sometimes you want to go fast. Sometimes I went a little fast. And I pay for it. Sometimes I'd see the sign, turn here. But I saw something ahead that I wanted to check out, so I'd take the next left. But for the most part, we were heading the right direction. And the crew grew. Lives were changed. It was awesome. And one day we were out driving on this hill. I had the crew with me, leading the way. And I got distracted. And I crashed. I took my car through the guardrail and tumbled downhill. I remember just rolling and rolling and rolling, wondering when it's gonna stop. And I hit the bottom. And I blacked out. When I came to, I was home. I was safe. My car had a very solid roll cage in it. And I was okay. I was good. And we went to the garage. And I saw my car. It was wrecked. Smashed and destroyed. Doors flown off. Engine mounts broken, sitting beside the vehicle. Tires missing. All scratched up. I thought I was invincible, that nothing could stop me. And I was wrong. And I sat there with my car, broken and damaged, with no idea where to go next. So I shut the door and walked away. Whenever I needed it, I knew where my car was, and I could go spend time with it. But it was nowhere near ready to drive. The crew faded. Handful of people stuck around. But my heart wasn't in it anymore. Whenever I saw my car, it broke me. My car became something that was only for me, because I still had to have a car. Because one day, I'll need that car to get me where I'm going. But I wasn't ready. decade passed. 10 years of my life since I crashed that car. And I'm sitting out in the garage, leaned back on a chair, chugging a Mountain Dew, remembering the good old days. All the things I had done in that machine. My man Jesus shows up, walks in, looks at me, looks at the car. Dude, what are you doing? Reliving the glory days, Jay. Want soda? Nah, I'm straight. But what are you doing? Looking in my car and remembering what it used to be. What happened, man? Where were you? Robbie, I was right there. I was there that night. I had signs everywhere. Speed limit 25. Sharp turn ahead. Short of putting out neon flashers, what did you expect me to do, man? You had stopped looking. You were off doing your own thing. And most of the time it was great. But sometimes I needed you to go left and you went right. First I was mad at him. But he was right. I had gotten so used to doing the right thing and trusting my instinct and following his signs that I thought I knew the way myself. And I had stopped following him. And that was why I crashed. So I look at Jay and I says, so what do we do now? Look at this mess. I can't do anything with this. You are doubting me? Me. You don't think I can fix this machine? Bruh. Yeah, alright, Jay. I trust you. I know you can fix this. But what am I supposed to do with it? Jay looks at me. You know what you're supposed to do? Grab a wrench.